Hello YouTube University students, and welcome back to Opa's Garage. And in the garage today, I am going to help you learn how to diagnose and possibly repair, without any tools, the most common 7.3 power stroke no start issues. Now there are several things that can cause the 7.3 to not start, and so rather than making a 30-minute video, I am probably going to break this into two separate videos. So this will be part one. Let's get started. So what does the engine sound like when it's got a good healthy set of batteries that are fully charged and a good starter? I've got this truck disabled so it won't start, so that I can crank it for a long time and you can hear how fast it turns over. That's what you should be hearing. You should be hearing that engine crank over like that. But if your truck sounds like this when it's cranking over, it means your batteries are low or weak or old, or your starter is old and it's drawing too much juice because it's starting to drag. But as you can tell with this truck having a voltmeter, you can see that the voltage gauge shows that the batteries are low. But this is what it sounds like when your engine is cranking over a little bit too slow. And she's not going to start when the batteries are that low. Okay, let's start off with a situation where your truck is not making any noise at all. You turn the key on, your dash lights up, all your lights light up. If you have the 99 to 02 models, you will have a volt gauge. You can see on your volt gauge that you've got good batteries, you got plenty of voltage. But when you hit the key, you got nothing. Nothing. No click, no nothing. First things first, if you look right down there, you can see that I deliberately did not have the truck in park or in neutral. So the very first thing that you're going to want to check is the truck fully engaged in park, or is the truck fully in neutral? If it's not, you're going to get nothing. Put it in park and you're going to get at least the engine cranking over. Don't laugh. I have seen this on multiple occasions where somebody didn't put their vehicle in park, or they put it up into park but it didn't fully engage in park, and so the computer is still sensing that the truck is not in park and you're getting nothing at the starter. Now on the 2002 and 2003 with the digital odometer, as you can see, they have removed, at least on the trucks with the automatic transmissions, they have removed the volt gauge. So when you turn the key on, you can see that everything lights up, but you really don't know how much juice you have in the battery. But once again, if you're hitting the key and you're getting nothing, make sure you're all the way up into park, and that might be the situation that is causing the problem. But if your truck is in park or in neutral and you're still getting nothing at the key, turn the key, you're getting nothing, or maybe you're getting a click. The best way to check and see how much voltage, since you don't have a voltmeter, turn your headlights on, walk around front, take a look at your headlights, see, do they look like they're good and bright, or do they look like they're kind of dim? Normally, if your battery voltage is just low, your truck will at least give you a click, or it'll give you a little bit of a turnover where it's trying to start, and that usually lets you know that, yep, your batteries are too low to crank the engine over. If you do get a click, or if you do get the engine turning over slowly, then you want to get out underneath the hood and you want to take a look at your battery cables. Grab them, wiggle them. As you can see, there's a little bit of corrosion starting to build up. A lot of times you'll pop the hood and you'll see this whole battery terminal is covered in corrosion. But you have two batteries under the hood, so you're going to want to check all four connections to make sure you don't have a bunch of corrosion, to make sure that you don't have any loose connections. Even just one of these cables being loose will give you a situation where these trucks don't want to start on just one battery, and so you'll get a situation where the truck is turning over, but it's turning over slowly, and that's because it's trying to start using only one battery. You get that second battery where it's fully hooked up. As you can see, sometimes you even have to run a screw in your battery terminals to get a good connection. But you get that second battery to where it's helping, and she'll fire right up. So if you come up here and all your connections look good, they're all tight, there's no corrosion, then the problem might be down on your starter. Okay, so you've checked your connection at your batteries, and they seem to be good and tight. Next thing you want to do is you want to check the connections at your starter, and that right there is your starter. That cylinder right there, and that little cylinder up on top is your solenoid. And there are two wires that are connected to the solenoid. Your starter is located on the passenger side, between basically at the back of the engine, front of the transmission. As you can see, right there's your oil pan, passenger side. Look above your oil, right there above your oil pan. Right here's your transmission, and that's where your starter is. And you've got two wires that connect to your starter. And one of them is a big wire that goes up and connects to your battery. One of them is a small wire, which is the trigger wire that comes from your ignition to basically let the starter know that it's time to engage. It kicks the solenoid out, and it also spins the starter over. So you want to check those two wires and make sure that they are both tight. I'll show you what those look like outside of the truck. And this is what your 7.3 Power Stroke starter looks like when it's not in the truck. Like I said, there are two wires that hook to this. Your main battery wire is going to hook to that post right there. So you're going to want to grab that big wire and you're going to try to wiggle it. And if you can wiggle it, that means it's loose. Just by wiggling it, you might get a good enough connection that you can go ahead, climb back up in the truck, hit the key, and it might fire right back up. And then this is where the small wire, your actuator wire, goes, or activator wire, whatever you want to call it. This is the one that when you actually hit your key, this is the wire that's actually receiving power, and it sends power into your solenoid, and it tells the solenoid to kick out, and it tells the starter to spin over. So you want to make sure that this wire is not broken. You want to make sure that this wire is not loose. If both these wires seem good and tight, the next thing that you want to do is you want to see if you can't find something that you can use as a tool. Like I said, if you have no tools, doesn't mean you can't find something that you can use as a tool. And I have been in this situation before where I had a truck that wasn't wanting to start. I didn't have any tools with me. I managed to find a rock that was no bigger than this, and I climbed underneath there, and I whacked on the starter a few times, and I actually had my wife with me, and I had her get in the driver's seat and had her turn the key like she was trying to start it. And as I was beating on the starter, it started turning over because it had a dead spot. And just beating on it, tapping on it like that, a little bit with, like I said, nothing more than a rock that I found, that was enough to get it to fire up, and we were able to make it home. So if you find something to tap on the starter, tap on it a few times. You're going to want to hit right here on the metal part of the body, or tap up here on the solenoid. If you do all that and you know for sure that your batteries are fully charged, if you don't have a volt gauge, if you've got an 02, 03 and you don't have a volt gauge, try turning your headlights on and take a look at your headlights. Do they look nice and bright? Have somebody watch your headlights. When you hit the key, do the headlights get really dim, like something is drawing power, it's just that the engine's not turning over? Usually in those situations you'll at least hear a click. But if tapping on the starter doesn't work and you know that all your connections are good and the batteries are fully charged, maybe you found somebody that had a set of jumper cables and they tried to jump start you and you're still getting nothing, 99% of the time you've got a bad starter and you're going to have to replace the starter to get yourself back on the road. So let's move on to the next scenario. Now, if you have a stick shift and you don't have an automatic transmission, you don't have to worry about whether or not you have it in park or if you have it in neutral to be able to start it. But you do have a neutral safety switch on the truck, or I guess it would really be considered a clutch safety switch, to whereas if you don't have the clutch pushed in, then you're going to get Nothing. So make sure your clutch is fully engaged and the engine should crank over. Now, if you have a clutch and your clutch safety switch is bad, the one nice thing about having a manual transmission is if you can find somebody that will give you a little push or give you a little tow, and you have like a long enough tow strap, then you can what's called bump start the vehicle, and that's where you hook the vehicle onto another vehicle, get it towing down the road about 15 miles an hour, put the truck in, pushing on your clutch, put the truck in like third gear and let out on your clutch, and you can bump start the engine and get yourself going that way. That is going to conclude part one of our two-part video. Hopefully you got some good information out of this video, and if you did, please hit the like and subscribe. If I did not cover the symptoms that you're having, then click on video number 2 and hopefully that video will help you. At any rate, keep living your best life. Get on out in the garage, fix something.